Alright, now a few videos ago I'm sure you learned about note values and rests. If not, you should probably check those out. But there also exists another sign of value. And this is what we're going to be talking about today, and that is dotted. My gosh. Dotted notes and rests. Right. So, basically, let's say you have a whole note, okay? And what does a whole note look like? Well, it kind of looks like this, right? Looks something like that. So that's a whole note. Now, basically, by putting a dot after it, here's a dot, it adds to the time value. So, not only does so I guess what I'm trying to say. So, you have a whole note. Okay, that represents pretty much the entire measure, right? Put a whole note in there, you got the entire measure. Well, if you put a dot, that takes this measure, cuts it in half, and adds that half section, making it 1.5 measures long. Okay? So a dot is basically half of the first time value added onto it. So this is the same as saying a whole note plus a half note. If we had, let's say we had a half note, dot, that would be the same as a half note plus, what's half of a half? A quarter note, right? Now if we had a dotted quarter note, that would be the same as saying a quarter note plus half of a quarter note, which is an eighth note. Right? So this is 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. Right, and these are note values, but you can actually do the same thing with rests. So, hang on a second. Right. Yeah, with rests, right? So, let's say you had a quarter note rest, right? Looks something like that. You dotted it. Well, that would be the same as a quarter note rest plus an eighth note rest, right? So this is 1.5 rests. Again, they're all 1.5. But you can actually add another dot, which would be half of the value of the dot itself, the first dot. So just like this first dot is half the value of the preceding value, the second dot would be half the value of the preceding value again, which just happens to be a dot. So let's go over that right now. Again, let's say you had a whole note, a dot, and another dot, right? So that would be a whole note plus a half note, just like up here. Now the second dot is gonna take half of the first dot, which is a half note, and add that on. So that will be a quarter note, right? So this is what? 1 3/4 now of the original value. So if we had a half note with 2 dots, that would be a half note plus a quarter note, just like above, plus the second dot's going to take half of the first dot and add it onto it, so it's going to be plus an eighth note. and so on. You get the picture, right? And it's the same thing for rests, right? So if I had a quarter rest with 2 dots, that would be the same as saying a quarter rest with an eighth note rest with the second dot's going to take half of the first dot value, which is an eighth note rest, and add it on. So that would be a 16th note rest, right? Exactly. Okay. So you get the point. That is that's all there is to dot values. Just know that it extends the measure by however many dots there are. So 1 dot equates to an addition of half of the. Oops. Sorry, that's just the the previous video uploading to YouTube. So yeah, 1 dot equates to half of the preceding value. And you just tack that on to the end. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.